Oh, hello there. You seem to have caught me in the midst of an intellectual activity. I do those quite often. As I'm recording this, it is currently Christmas Eve of 2023. If you celebrate it, Merry Christmas Eve. If you don't, Merry 24th of December. We're all familiar with the story of Christopher Kringle, Old Saint Nick, creating a list and checking it twice. However, are you familiar with the story of Luminosity Gaming making a list of the best Smash Ultimate players? Well, they do. They released their list of the best players in the world in a mid-year 2023 ranking. A list that was pretty alright, but had some controversial picks, like Akola being ranked above Spargo and Yoshidora being number 10 over Gluttony. However, with this year wrapped up and with all the majors said and done, LumiRank will no doubt post an end-of-year ranking very promptly. However, what is this rank really going to look like? And more importantly, can we predict it before it happens? That's going to be the topic of today's video. Well, we will be making my predictions for the top 10 players of 2023. Now, to be clear, this is not my ranking of the top 10 players in the world. I know better than to anger the internet like that. Rather, this is going to be my prediction for what LumiRank's top 10 will be looking like. We'll be going over the top 10, why I think they're going to be placed there, and then we'll be going over some honorable mentions who I think will be in the 11 to 20 range, although it doesn't really matter what order they're in, and I'm not sure we'd be able to predict it anyways. Oh, also, it's Christmas Day, and I wanted to spend the majority of today with my family, and I predict many of you will want to spend the most of your days with your family, so I didn't really want to do a super hard video. I just wanted to do something easy I can crank out and put out so you can watch it casually and then go spend the rest of Christmas Day with your family. Are we good? All right, let's get started. We're gaming. There is going to be no script for today's video. I'm just kind of getting into it and we'll see where the wind takes us. So here we are with our Excel spreadsheet right here. We've got a number 10 filled out. I do have the LumiRank from mid-year pulled up just for me to reference it. I'm not really going off of this to predict where they're going to put players at the end of the year, but I definitely think this can help us make some predictions. And I definitely do think they'll be doing it for the entire year. You know, if we were doing it from just mid-year to the end of year, I think the top 4 would look very different. But I think since we're taking in the entire year of 2023 into account, I think that's gonna change things up quite considerably. So let's get the first thing out of the way first. The 4 horsemen, as Twitter are calling them now. We have Spargo, Akola, Mia, and Sonics. Where do these 4 players go from 1 to 4? This has been the main point of discussion for a lot of people whenever they talk about rankings, is how do you rank these 4 players? And I think I figured out what LumiRank is going to do. Again, this is not what I would do. This is what I think LumiRank is going to be doing. I want to state that if we put these 4 players in a round robin bracket and just had them play to see who would be best in the world, I think Sonics wins that free. At least right now, from what we've seen at majors, I mean, think about Port Priority 8 where Sonics just dismantled Akola, defeated Mia as well, and other majors like Watch the Throne where Sonics then got the repeat runbacks over both Akola and Mia. I mean, that was just kind of a wash, low key. The only real contender in Sonics' way is Spargo right now. And you could point to like Spargo's win at Watch the Throne for being like, no, Spargo is better in a vacuum. I actually think that Sonics is a little bit better than Spargo. I definitely think the performances at the Coinbox IRL kind of showed that Sonics kind of got matchup checked a little bit in Watch the Throne. I don't really want to use that term since there's a lot of negative connotations there, and I don't want to like imply anything too bad about Spargo and whatnot. But he definitely like didn't really know that matchup at that moment in time, and he said on Twitter he was gonna learn it, and then what does he do? Like not even a week later, he beats Spargo in like grand finals in the same exact matchup. So I definitely think that in a vacuum, Sonics is the best player in the world, but that's not really reflective of their years as a whole. I think that LumiRank is going to put Akola as the number 1 player for 2023. I think there's really just no debating that from the beginning of the year all the way to the mid-year rankings, Akola just had a level of dominance that has not been seen since like 2019 Leo. I'm not saying it was as good as 2019 Leo. There's definitely some hiccups along the way, but Akola had a level of dominance that we've not seen from any other player for a long time. And I think that is just basically going to carry Akola to the number #1 spot for the year overall. If we were going from just the mid-year rankings to now, I think Akola probably gets put at #3, above Spargo, but like not above Mia or Sonics. But since we're looking at the entire year as a whole, I think that Akola gets put here, to be honest. I think it's really hard to rank these players, these 4 players, because 2 of them are in NA and they fight all the time, and 2 of them are in Japan and they fight all the time, but they don't really, those 2 groups of 2 don't really like connect with each other very often. So it's like hard to rank them in that way. But overall, I think LumiRank is probably going to put Mia as #2. I definitely think that, like, we all know that algorithmic rankings and like statistics people in general are a bit favored towards Japan. And I'm not saying that's the reason why Mia would be ranked over Sonics, but you can definitely see, like, I can hear them now. I can hear them now in the YouTube video. They're just gonna be like, Mia and Sonics have had comparable years in terms of major wins, but Mia has beaten all these amazing Japanese players, but Sonics has only really beaten the NA ones. And that's kind of gonna be the reasoning, I think, for why Mia is gonna be ranked over Sonics. They could surprise me. They could put Sonics here instead. I don't think they will, though. Not to discredit Mia, though. Mia has had a phenomenal year, you know, finally taking victories over Akola multiple times, took Kagadibi 11. That was huge for him. And basically, like, I think the amount of 3-0s that Mia has had somewhere, I saw this by like Wist Stats or something, like Mia has the most 3-0s out of any other player in top 8s. So like Akola and Spargo, you know, they have 3-2s, game 5 sets, they have 3-1s constantly and whatnot, but Mia just kind of doesn't drop games to anyone he doesn't lose to. So that's definitely an impressive statistic. And then I think, of course, we have Sonics and then Spargo. Spargo at #4, definitely a bit of a drop from his #2 placement on the mid-year rank. And honestly, that's just because, like, Spargo has the best head-to-heads out of literally all 4 of these players, and Spargo has good peaks, but Spargo's like valleys are the worst of maybe anyone in the top 10. You know, of course, we have like the 49th at SmashCon. We have the placing like 16th, I think it was, at Port Priority 8, losing to Ken and Riddles. I mean, 2 great players, don't get me wrong, but I mean, he was like the 1st or 2nd seed of that event or something, and just kind of definitely had one of those weekends. But it feels like out of every single person in this top 10, Spargo has more of those weekends where he just underperforms more than any other player. Spargo's biggest problem right now is his consistency. If he can really iron out his consistency, he can be the best player in the world, for sure. I mean, Spargo beats Sonics, beats Mia, beats Akola all the freaking time. I think the one player who might start to have his number soon is probably Sonics, and maybe if Akola actually commits to that Aegis and makes it good, then maybe that can give Spargo a few problems. But other than that, Spargo has shown dominant head-to-heads against all of these players. It's just getting to them first that's proven the problem. So these are the 4 horsemen, as Twitter has been calling them. I think this is where LumiRank will put these players. Again, this is not where I would put these players. I would probably sort them if I'm like looking at a vacuum. I would probably do like Sonics, then Mia, then honestly, I might put Spargo above Akola. I might have Akola at #4. But that would be definitely a hard one to call. And again, if I were doing this ranking, I probably wouldn't do it for the entirety of 2023. I'd probably do it from mid-year to end of 2023, because we've seen this game change so much in just that short span of a few months. I just feel like doing an entire like 2023 full year instead of mid-year to end. Like, I know why they're doing it, duh, why wouldn't you? But it just feels like almost 2 different metas that, like, looking back at the first half of the year to the second half of the year, it feels like 2 different metas completely. It's kind of crazy. Now we get to the actual interesting thing, because everyone and their mom knows that 1 through 4 is some sort of order between Akola, Mia, Sonic, Spargo. Everyone knows that. The really interesting thing, in my opinion, is 5 through 10 is like, who do we rank there? Who do we put in those spots? And what order? Personally, for number 5, I'm gonna go ahead and put Gluttony right here. We know that LumiRank and like other algorithmic stats people don't favor Europe that hard. They favor NA or they favor Japan. But I honestly think Gluttony definitely is the exception to that sort of rule. I think they're probably going to rank Gluttony above Tweak because just like Gluttony has really good consistency. I think his only bad placement was port 8 where he lost to Beast Mode Paul. And then I'm not sure. I think he definitely fell before top 16, I think. I don't remember who he lost to in losers though. But that was Gluttony's like only like bad placement of the entire year. I mean, obviously he won Terra. That is huge. Not only did he beat Spargo, he beat Tweak and Light, which I would say are the two players that are in contention for that number 5 spot along with Gluttony. Tweak and Light are like the two players who are also gunning for number 5. I think Gluttony beating both of them to take the victory at Terra is huge for his ranking spot. And other than that, Gluttony just has really solid performances everywhere. Got 7th at Watch the Throne. I think Gluttony definitely could have gone farther if he didn't have to fight Akola so early on in the tournament. That matchup seems like genuine torture for Wario. But you got to think about like how many good players he outplaced to even make top 8 at Watch the Throne. That tournament was a slugfest. But yeah, in short, I think Gluttony has actually pretty similar consistency to both Tweak and Light. I just think that his peaks are a little bit higher. So that's why I think LumiRank's probably going to put him down at number 5. Now we have the big question. Who is the best player in America? Is it Light or is it Tweak? This is a question that has gone back and forth several times, especially throughout the course of the year. You could have asked me at multiple different months and I would have given you a different answer. But I think in this moment in time, the number 6 player that LumiRank will put here is probably going to be Tweak. Tweak has had a really good year so far. It's interesting though, his only major victory has actually been LMBM, the first major of the year. And then he hasn't won any after that. But the thing about Tweak is that he's just really consistent in those top 8s. Getting 2nd place at Terra was huge for him. I mean, it would have been even better if he had won that tournament. But I mean, that 2nd place beating Spargo and Light, that was big. Had a really good weekend at Watch the Throne. Outplaced Gluttony, which is actually, I think I actually would consider Watch the Throne to be a bit of a lower placement for Gluttony and a bit of a like nice placement for Tweak. But I think Gluttony has other placements to balance that out. Places like Rise and Grind and whatnot that I think Tweak kind of just doesn't quite have. And honestly, I think LumiRank is probably gonna give Gluttony the edge over Tweak, partly because of the head-to-head, partly because of just overall like major victories, to be honest, because Gluttony has definitely won more than Tweak has. Gluttony, of course, won UFA. That was a big one. European major, had Leo, had Big Boss, so that was definitely huge for him. But Tweak, I definitely think is the best player in America right now, shortly followed by who I think is going to be number 7, Light. Light's best win was definitely MomoCon 2023, where he double eliminated Sonics in order to take the victory in Grands and in the Grands reset. That, I think, is definitely Light's biggest peak of 2023, at least. I actually think Light is less of a consistent top 8 bracket threat than Tweak is. He has actually missed out on a few top 8s lately. Missed out on top 8 at Watch the Throne, missed out on top 8 at LMMM 2023, missed out on top 8 at a few other important tournaments. I think his overall year is still better than some players we're going to talk about next. I think he's just in a little bit of a slump from the mid-year to the end of 2023, but he had a really good first half of 2023, which I think will definitely like put him in this spot. These next few spots are going to be pretty hard to decide, to be honest with you. A lot of people who you could put from the 8 to 10 range either struggle with consistency or struggle with attendance. Like take Zamba, for instance. I actually think Zamba is probably a top 10 player right now. It's just like, the problem with Zamba is that he didn't really get a chance to go to the coin box. He didn't get a chance to go to Watch the Throne. He didn't really get a chance to compete at some of those last critical majors of 2023 where he really could have made a case for himself. I think Zamba might still be top 10, but it's a harder decision now because he just really didn't get the chance to demonstrate that. I think I'm going to do this a little bit out of order. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Call me absolutely crazy. My pick for who I think Luminosity is going to put at number 10, I think they're going to put Ken here. It feels like Ken has really just become a top 10 player in these past few months alone. He had got a pretty decent placement at Delfino Mazza. And then there was a month or two where nothing really happened. He was kind of getting some good wins over in Japan. And then he just kind of exploded onto the scene. He made top 8 at Port Priority 8. He made top 8 at Watch the Throne, did those back to back and got so many good top wins as he was doing it that it's really hard to rank Ken. I think he blew the hell up in the last few months of 2023, and we really have no idea whether it's like gonna be temporary or if it's gonna be his new consistent. No one really knows for sure, but I think Luminosity is actually gonna put Ken at number 10, just kind of for that like factor of like, this is the new breakout star of 2023. And I think they're gonna put him in the top 10 because that's like an interesting storyline. And I think his wins were good enough to be top 10. Whew, I've gotta tie my hair back. This is ridiculous. I think overall, I'm gonna give number 9 to Zomba. I think that if we were just looking at mid-year to end of 2023, LumiRank would not put him in top 10. I don't think Zomba gets top 10 in that case. But since we're talking about the entirety of 2023, I think Zomba actually did have a really good year when you look at it like as a whole. Obviously, his victory at Crown the Third, literally record-breaking, mind-shattering, crazy run that really no one saw coming, and it was his crowning achievement by far. But Zomba also has some really good other claims. He was the only American to make top 8 at Battle of BC 5. That was huge for him, in my opinion. Like I was saying earlier, I just wish Zomba got a chance to attend more things in the last few months of 2023, because when you're thinking about like what happened recently, it doesn't feel like Zomba's top 10 because he didn't get a chance to go to Watch the Throne, because he didn't get a chance to attend tournaments like Coinbox IRL, you know, those last few massive tournaments that were really in our mind going into the last few months. It just feels like Zomba didn't really get a chance to shine in the last few months of the year. But I think other than that, he really did have a good year overall. To be 100% honest with you, I might move Zomba up, to be honest. I think I'm going to move Zomba up to number 8 because I think I actually want another player to be here instead. You know what, in order to get a better perspective of who I think should fill out this final spot, let's go over some players who I think will not breach the top 10. I'm gonna start by saying MK Leo probably won't make top 10. I don't think Yoshidora is gonna make top 10. I don't think Kameme is gonna make top 10. All three of these players have struggled with consistency a lot. Yoshidora had a really good first half of the year, but I think he's probably going to get number 11 because after the mid-year rank came out, Yoshidora just kind of started hitting slumps, and he's gotten second at a few big Japanese tournaments, but he hasn't won any of them, and I think he's mostly just kind of faded into the background of a lot of people's minds. I wouldn't be surprised if he snuck onto the top 10 as number 9th. I think out of every player I'm going to cover in this little position here, he's got the best chance of doing that. Kameme is really inconsistent. He has a lot of 33rds at like big tournaments, got some 13ths, got some 9ths, but his peaks are huge. I mean, top 8ing Battle of BC 5, that was big for him. Winning Ultimate Wanted 5 was pretty big. But then he's just got like, he had like a 33rd at Wave Champions number 6, this like Japanese like C tier, where he lost to a few players who I think aren't even ranked. So I definitely think Kameme just has too many bad losses for him to be in the top 10. I think Riddles could probably be down here. I think Riddles definitely has a lot of good top 8s. He's top 8'd Gamal. He top 8'd a few other majors throughout the year, Coinbox IRL. But he really suffered with a little bit of consistency, especially with tournaments like Rise and Grind, where he lost to Base Mage and Jazo for 13th, I think. So he's definitely struggled a little bit with consistency in that department particularly. I think Mudace and Dabuz probably both aren't going to make top 8 or top 10. I think Mudace could actually have a decent chance, but he's definitely struggled a little bit with consistency in just like smaller tournaments like low tier city 7 and whatnot, where I think he placed 7th as the first seed. And then Dabuz definitely has been in a little bit of a slump, but hey, he's picking up Steve, so if that should say anything, he'll probably be number 5 next year. Lastly, I think there's a lot of players who are ranked in Japan that probably won't make it. And then lastly, Meister probably won't make it either, even though Meister actually has had a really good year. I think Meister has actually done better than a lot of these players here. I think Meister did better than Ashimo. I think Meister did better than T, debatably. I think Meister did better than probably DeBuzz in some scenarios. Meister definitely had a better first half of 2023 than the latter half of 2023. And then lastly, I just think Shuton just hasn't attended much. I really want to see more attendance from him because I do think Shuton is still one of the best in Japan right now. But it's just so hard to like pick him for that spot. So I'm going to pick one of these players to move into number 9. I'm going to pick one of them. And I think out of everyone here, the person who's had the best year in total as a whole is probably gonna go to Riddles. I think Riddles mostly struggles with attendance as far as like focusing on Street Fighter 6 and whatnot. I think they're gonna put him up here for strong placements at Gamel. I think they're gonna put him up here for strong placements at the Coinbox IRL. And I think they're gonna put him up here because he really doesn't have the slumps that other players like Kameme have. So here we go. We've got something really easy for today's video. I've predicted now where every single one of the top 10 for LumiRank is going to be ranked. Again, this is not my ranking. This is what I predict LumiRank will do for their end of year ranking. I definitely think the most potential like switch ups include the order of 5, 6, and 7. I think this top 4 is a pretty safe bet. I think 5, 6, and 7 you could probably interchange with each other pretty freely and no one would really bat an eye. And I think 8, 9, and 10 are definitely the areas that I struggled with the most in placing. I think Zamba and Riddles are kind of a toss-up. You could put Kameme in there, you could put Shuton in there, you could put a lot of different players. I think Ken actually probably will make number 10. And the other player I could see maybe making top 10 is, you could put MKLeo there, because he doesn't really have that bad of a year in total. He actually did really well in like the latter half of the year. But the problem with MKLeo is just people are comparing his results now to his results in 2019. So they think he's going to be at like number 25 or something, when really like the guy is still placing good. It's just not as good as it used to be. But I think that this prediction for LumiRank is pretty solid as far as it all goes. I don't know. You could really like 8 and 9 are my biggest toss-ups. You could really replace Zamba and Riddles with anyone from this list that we covered, except probably Ashimo, Zachary, and T. Maybe Meister as well. Like get rid of those guys, and I think any player in this list could probably take number 8 or number 9. So it's a bit of a toss-up in that regard. But hey, if one of these players doesn't make number 8 or 9, I think that would be kind of insane, because I think definitely one of them should. So yeah, that is going to be the video today. Thank you everyone for coming out. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. I am going to get this edited tonight so that I don't have to do it tomorrow during Christmas Day. You guys are all going to watch this on Christmas. You guys might disagree with what I say. You guys might disagree with what I say quite a lot, actually. But honestly, don't take this video too seriously. I'm really just doing this because I want something easy to do for Christmas so that I'm not really wasting any of my family's time, not wasting any of my time, and not wasting any of your time. I mean, it's just going to be a short little, maybe 20-minute video about who I think LumiRank will make their top 10, and then go spend the rest of your Christmas day with your family. All right? I know I will. So without further ado, I'm going to give some shoutouts before I end today's video. Firstly, I want to give a shout out to my patrons at Laster, Fosco333, and my two patrons, Iltis and Diamond Blaze. I want to give some shoutouts to my YouTube members, Stormtrooper, Loco Soco, Diarrhea, DCR Jr., Defective, Orangabang, Fan of, and my two members, Mike G and Wu-Tang Forever. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to my tier 3 patron, Ocean Man, who says, Mr. Mice is sorry for playing Min Min. If you want to support me using any of these methods, links are in the description below. With that out of the way, I've been Mr. Mice, and thank you all so much for watching.